This conference will now be recorded.
Hi Vamsi, hi Mohan. We will wait for 2 more minutes for the others to join. I hope my voice is audible.
Yes, it's audible.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Let's start our session. So yesterday we have seen about our first program and what is variable and how we can define a variable and all we have seen in our previous session. So we will do few more additional things in the variable itself. Then I will be covering the data types in today's session. So I hope my screen is visible. So yesterday I was telling about the variables. Variable means it will vary, and we will be doing something like this. I told right int a shoe. If I'm planning to buy a shoe, so if I want to read the data like shoe size equal to 9, something like this. So here shoe size is the integer. Integer mean it's a number. In real time, what we'll say it is a number. And if I say it's like Ashok or Chandra or Babu, these are all the uh, sequence of letters, alphabets that we call it as string. In Java, if you are planning to use a word, a sentence kind of thing, then we will use string. If you are planning to use numbers, then we will be using integer. In today's session, I will tell what are the different type of numbers you can use, the data types. So coming back to our variables, a variable means you are giving some name to the memory address. So I'm giving shoe size. Going forward, instead of saying that give me the data stored in memory address 0100, I will say that tell me the value of shoe size. If I say tell me the value of shoe size, then the 9 will be printed. So this is one we are going to do. So in yesterday class also we have done this. So what I did, I was using a variable. So I'm going to print it. So system.out.println I'm doing, and I'm printing this variable. This variable is of type int. The type of the data which I'm planning to store is a number, an integer. So I'm using int. The short form of integer is int. I'm using it. So now when I run this program, I'll get the data which is available in shoe size, the variable shoe size. So whatever it is there in my right hand side, the value which I specified in my right hand side will be stored in a name called shoe size. Going forward, whenever I call shoe size, it will print 9. After some time, I feel that I want to change the size. Previously, I was buying a shoe for me. Now, if I want to buy a shoe for my brother, so I'm saying that now I'm saying that next day when I go to the online shopping, and I'm saying that I'm looking for a shoe which is of size 11. So this time when I print the shoe size, it will take the latest value. Previously it was 9. I'm able to print it. Then I am changing the value. I'm varying the value, the varying the data which I want to store it in shoe size. When I vary, you can see two different things. First thing is when we execute. So these are all the commands. When we can go back to our first day sessions, like what is this? We are giving some commands to the machine. So the first command I'm saying that, hey, go and look for a shoe of size 9. So it went, it looked for the size 9 in the online shopping and it printed something to me. Later on, the next day when I log in, I'm saying that I'm looking for the shoe size of 11. So now the shoe size will be 11. So it override what it done. Previously it was 9, then it erased the value of 9 and it stored the value 11. Going forward, whenever I try to print shoe size, it will print the latest value. It won't print the old value because I erased it and I added a new value. I stored a new value in the shoe size. This is the concept of variable. It will vary based upon your program need, based upon the requirement. If customer is giving a requirement, if user is giving a requirement, you can very well change the coding. So you can vary the data stored in the variable. So this is the concept of variable. So variable, we will do like this. Okay. So how we can, this will be a question, you will get it in an interview also. So when they are talking in interview, they will talk in the technical terms only. They won't say like store and all. For you to understand, I'm using the words like store and all, but in the real world they will say assignment. So they are assigning the value of 9 into the variable shoe size. The data type of the variable is integer. This is how they talk in the real time. So now coming back to our example. So here, I can either give like this, or I can split this activity into two different things. So now again, I have to follow the naming convention. So if I want to use two different words, I have to use a uppercase. So I'm using an uppercase. Shoe size equal to 9. So previously I gave everything in the single line. Int shoe size equal to 9. Instead of doing like this, I can split also. The first thing is the first line, what and all I have done. In technical terms, they will say declaration. That is, I'm declaring a variable. I'm saying that it is of integer type. I am introducing a variable to the Java program, that is shoe size. The name of the variable is shoe size and the type of the variable is integer. This is called declaration. Then I am assigning some value to the variable shoe size. This is called assignment. Okay, so I'm declaring and I am assigning some value. Instead of doing this, we can do the other way. I've showed you, right? Int shoe size equal to 9. That also I can do. But usually you can see this way also. When you do a development, when you see any old code, like if you get a chance to see other developer code, they will declare like this also. So don't get confused. Both are valid. In a single line also you can give, or you can split it like this and you can give. Next thing is, if you are planning to introduce some more variable called int shirt size. So you are planning to purchase a shirt also. So int shirt size. So already I have a variable called shoe size and I want to buy a shirt today. Like in online shopping, I logged into Amazon and I feel that I want to purchase a shirt today. So I have to give a shirt size. So 39 I'm giving. If I give like this, so I have two variables now. One variable is shoe size, another variable is shirt size. So for both the variables, I'm assigning a value. So this is one of the way. The other way is, instead of giving two lines like this, line number 6 and line number 9 separately, I'm commenting this line, okay, or I will remove the line itself. What I can do is, in the same line, I can add it like this, a comma separated. If you want to have more than one variable, then, and it's of same data type, here the shoe size also integer, the shirt size also integer. So if I'm planning to have a variable of same data type, instead of declaring in multiple lines, I can use a comma, and I can use as much as variable you want. So I can say that shoe size, shirt size, and what and all you want to do, like any other thing, if you want to buy some size, whatever. So as many you want, you can have a comma separator and you can add. But personally, when you ask me, I won't recommend this. This is a way available, you can learn it, but for the good development, for a good coding practice, I won't prefer this, because most of the time what developer will do is, they will have like 15 or 20 variables in a file, and all these 15 or 20 variables, they will add it in the beginning of the file itself, and they will add the related code in line number 200 or 300 somewhere there. Well, then it will be really hard for you to track and see. So whenever there is a need, you declare it. Again, there is some concept of scope and all. So in that cases, it will be really helpful if you define, if you declare the variable just above where you want to use. Instead of putting everything at the top, and line number 200 or 300, you are trying to use a shirt size, then you will get confused. So my personal opinion, don't use this comma separator. That is not a good coding practice. Whenever you are in a need, you can define that variable, you can declare the variable, and you can use it, so that you will know what are the variable I'm planning to use. There are some cases in the beginning of the line, the beginning of the file itself, developer used to declare 30, 40 variables, but they will hardly use 5 to 10 variables only. Unnecessarily, you are utilizing the memory. So whenever you are declaring a variable, a memory will be allocated for that. A space will be, because you're planning to store it, right? So a memory will be allocated. For that, you have to concentrate on the memory utilization also. So don't use unnecessary variables. Whenever there is a need, you can use it. So this is all the variable related concept. Now we are going back to the data types. Okay, let me share the screen. 1 minute. Okay. So these are the data types. Again, data types are of two types. One is primitive data type, another is non-primitive data type. So let's keep the non-primitive data type aside. Today's discussion, we will be going to see the primitive data types only. So primitive data types are all the basic ones. You would have seen it in other programming languages also. Without hoops also, when you see, you would have seen this data types. So let's see the first three or first four we will see. I've told you, right? Numbers. For a layman perspective, we don't know this byte, short, int and all. For us, it is a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, something it is there means it is a number. And if I am using a single letter, okay, A or B or C, means it is all characters. If I'm using a word, okay, so if I have more than one character, what we'll say? It's a word, it's a sentence. So these are all the naming convention. We will use it in the real-time world. Programmer world is different or real-time world is different. So in real-time world, for us, it's a number. But in the programming world, the number itself is split into 4 different categories. So what are those 4 different categories? It's byte, short, int, and long. Okay, int, it's nothing but it's a integer. So integer, the short form, it's int we'll be using. So you are asking me, like you said, it's a number. Why for number I need 4 different types? Why can't I keep it as number itself? Again, the memory concept is coming into picture here. You might be dealing with, I've shown you an example of shoe size. So shoe size is 9 only, and shirt size is 39 only. Just a low range of data, that is less than 50, less than 100 I'm using. So for to deal with a low range of data, we can use byte. Whenever I declare a variable with byte, it will occupy. Again, it is all related to the memory allocations only. 8-bit will be allocated in memory for me. So these are all again your school days and college days only. 1 byte equal to 8-bit. So if you have studied engineering, obviously you would have learned this, irrespective of which stream you are from. Obviously you would have learned this concept. 1 byte equal to 8 bits. So how we will do? So this is how. So this is how they used to do. Like some for you to understand, I'm adding a notes. 1 byte equal to 8 bits. So a memory will be allocated. How this memory will be allocated? I will have sequence of boxes created. So usually it won't be allocated like this, but for you to understand, I'm adding a concept here. So a sequence of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 spaces will be allocated for me. So here I can say I can add 0, I can have 1, whatever maybe I can have. So whenever I am planning to deal with a low range of data like this, that is 9 or 39, which is less than 100 or less than, the byte range is minus 128 to 127. If you are planning to store a data which is less than 127, then you can very well use byte. Instead of using integer, I can use byte here. So it will easily store the data 9, and if I want to print it also, it will print it. There won't be any change in the output because it is within the range. So obviously it will print me the output without any problem. So when we can go for a comment. Okay. So this call error. Whenever we do some mistake, it will clearly tell this is compilation error. So when you're compiling the code itself, you will get an error and it will say in line number 22, there is some undefined things and it is throwing me an error. So because recently I've changed the shoe size, the S to lowercase to uppercase, right? That's why here it is throwing me error. So if I change the variable name properly, because I declared it as uppercase, right? So wherever I want to use shoe size, I should use a uppercases only. So if I printed the shoe size, the same will be printed. There won't be any change in the output. So initially I assigned shoe size to 9, then later I made it to 11. So I will get two print statements, one for 9, one for 11. Whether I'm using an integer or I'm using a byte, there won't be any change because the number 9 is within the range of byte. So now we will see why it is specifically accepting the data of minus 128 to 127. Why it's so? So again, the formula here, like we will be using a formula. That is, I told you, right? 1 byte equal to 8 bits. So n equal to 8. This is a formula. Again, we have used it in the college days. Same formula. So what we will use? Now n equal to 8 means this is the formula we have used. 2 power of n to 2 power of n minus 1. So I'm just trying to recollect your college days, I think. 2 power of n minus 1. Okay, so it is not only in college, even in our school days or intermediate, everywhere we have learned this. So this is the formula we used to do. 2 power of n to 2 power of n minus 1. So with this range, so if you do the calculation, 2 power of n, what is the value of n now? It is 8. 2 power of 8 to 2 power of 8 minus 1. If you apply this formula, you will get this result. That is minus 128 to 127. Got it? Why we are using this? So always it is starting from the, your scale will start from minus, then it will traverse like minus 6. You'll say a scale will start from minus 6, minus 5, minus 4, minus 3. It will go to reach 0. From 0, it will start the regular numbers, right? Similarly, the same thing here. 2 power of minus 2 power of n to 2 power of n minus 1. So this byte will accept the data not only in the positive range but also in the negative range. If you want to store something as minus 1, minus 10, minus 11, yes, we can very well store it, because the range here it is showing that minus 128 to 127. It will accept the negative data also. So if I run now, for very first print statement, it will print minus 9, then it will print 11. It means that the same variable can be used to store your negative data and also the positive data. So byte is there. For example, if I want to use a large data, okay, so in memory, it will create 1 byte's memory space. I told you, right? Whenever I declare a byte, it will allocate a memory for me. So this is the memory I was telling, right? So in memory, 8 bit will be allocated for me, and I will be storing a variable, the data. The data will be whatever I want to store. It can be 1 or it can be 2 or it can be 3. Though I will be having a memory of 8 bits, in 1 bit itself I'm storing a data means it is okay. The remaining bits are all will be kept available. I'm not using it, but whenever I declare, we can't give a 1 bit, we can't define a bit. So it will provide me 8 bits in the first instance itself, 8 bits of space. That is 8 spaces will be allocated for me. Whether I'm using 0 or 1 or I'm utilizing everything, it's different. Is it clear? Somebody has asked this question. I didn't
Yes,
see that.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Next thing is byte, I told you. So for example, if I want to store more data, I don't want to store 9. I want to store a more data. Don't think that shoe size may not be big number. Just for an example, I'm saying, okay, if I want to store a more data or something like this, okay, then I can't use byte, because byte, I told you, it is from minus 128 to 127 only. In this case, it is clearly stating when you mouse over, again I'm saying, in your IDE, you will get different color codings. If it is in yellow, it is for warning. That is, you are doing something, it is to be corrected. It won't stop you in compilation, but it's a warning. You made some mistake. It's good to correct it. Whenever it is in red color, it is an error. You have to correct it. Without correcting this error, your program won't run. So you should understand the color coding. So yellow means warning and red means an error. So now it is showing that it is an error. What is the error? If you want to see it, you can mouse over to that error. Okay, when you mouse over, you can see a tooltip is open, a box is open, and it's stating that required is byte, because I specified the shoe size as byte only. In line number 6, I have mentioned that shoe size is byte data type. I'm thinking that I'm planning to store a shoe size of 9, 10, 11, something like that. But in the shopping, that is online shopping app, you will see some text box, right? You used to write some text boxes. If the developer properly handle the code, then in UI itself, that is in the screen itself, it will stop the person to, like, they won't allow to enter a more value, 1000, 2000 and all. We should not allow, we should restrict it. When I try to add something more, it will stop it. It will say only 2 digits is possible, 3 digits is possible, because of some poor coding. In the front end, the UI developer doesn't handle the text box properly, and it allowed me to enter n number of values. 10,000, 20,000 means it will be coming to the backend, and in byte, that is shoe size, there are some cases you will get a message like this, that is, if a user enter a wrong value, if it didn't handle properly in the UI, it will reach the backend and it will say that expected is byte, but you are providing a value for integer range. This is beyond the byte range. So what is a byte range? 128 to 127. Those cases only you have to use a variable of shoe size. If your program, if you feel that I have a variable, it can accommodate more data. There are some possible I will get 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, whatever may be. In that cases, I should not declare the variable as byte. I should use a higher ranges. One of the higher ranges int. Most of the developers, irrespective of the size or irrespective of the range of the data, they will by default use integer, because they don't want to take a chance, because user can enter any data and it will crash the code. If somebody is entering a large data, then obviously it will crash the code, so they don't want to take the chance. So by default they will go with integer itself, though even though the expected input is single digit, less than 100, they won't take a chance. They will hardly use byte, they will go for the integer. Any online material, any code you see online, any reference code you try to get it, you always see integer data type only, that is int. You won't see any short or byte. Very rarely a good developer only will use it. Most of the time they will use integer, because they don't want to take a chance, because they don't want to sit and do some analysis. What is the possible input, what are all the input user will enter? They don't want to do the analysis, so simply they will give integer. Why they are going for integer is the integer range. If you look at this, integer is using 4 bytes. So 1 byte is 8 bits, means 4 byte is 32 bits. So again, coming back to our formula area. So this is our commented area, so it won't execute. For integer, it will be 4 bytes. 4 bytes means 4 into 8 bits, that is 32 bits will be allocated. So 32 bits will be allocated. It will go like this till the 32. What is the range? Again, the same formula they will be applying. Okay, so minus 2 power of n to 2 power of n minus 1. So what is the value of n now? It is 32. So my integer range is minus 2 power of 32. Sorry, if we won't use 32, I will tell why we won't be using 32 also. Okay, 2 power of 31 minus 1. So now instead of 32, we will be using 31. You can see it here. You will immediately get a question why it is like that. Previously we said 2 power of n2, 2 power of n minus 1 for byte. Why we are not using for integer? Yes, there is a reason behind that. There is something called signed integer and unsigned integer. So one byte is reserved for the signed integer and unsigned integer. That's why we won't go with 2 power of 32. We will be going with the 2 power of 31 only. So if you see how many range, like 2 power of 31 means, you just do a calculation. We have vast range of data. We can easily accommodate this much of data in the integer. That's why most of the developer, they prefer to go with the integer data type. If they are planning to go with a shorter range, that is 2 bytes of data. 2 bytes means again it's 16. So your n equal to 16. If you are planning to deal with the data within the 32,000 range, here we are using more than that, right? It's about like 9 lakhs. That's why we are going for the integer. If you are planning to deal with 32,000 range, then you can very well declare that as short. For me, I will get an error because it is more than that, right? So I will reduce something. Okay. If you are planning to use a range within this 32,768 within this range, then you can obviously go for short. If you are planning to use a larger range, then you can use integer. If you want to use even further longer range, I am planning to use more number of data like this, that is beyond the range of integer, then you can go for long. So there is a data type called long that is even larger than your integer range. So you have to specify it as long. And one more thing you have to do, you have to specify it with L. That is the difference between integer and long, to inform your Java program that I am dealing with a large range of data. Apart from just specifying the data type as long, long, you have to end the data with capital L or small l. By specifying that, you are informing the Java program that, hey, I'm going to use a large range of data and I'm using a long data type, and this is the end of the data I'm going to feed. So when you give a L, it means that it is a long data type. So is it clear? We have 4 data types for the numbers itself. Again, it is for the whole number. So next we will be seeing the float points and all. So if you are dealing with a whole number without any decimal like .00 or .11 and all, you can very well use the first 4 categories mentioned in the table: byte, short, int, and long. When we have to go for byte, if I'm planning to use a data which is less than 127, the range is minus 128 to plus 127, then I can use byte. If I'm planning to use something around this 30,000 or 32,000, I can use short. If I'm planning to use a large range of data that is above the short range, then you can go for integer. If you're planning to use even further large, that is minus 2 power of 63 to 2 power of 63, then you can go for long. For long data type alone, we have to specify L at the end so that the program will understand that I'm using a long data type. For example, if you want to use a number like this, that is with some decimal points, if I want to use, I'm not going to use a whole number, then there are 2 data types available. One is float, another one is double. Again, float is somewhat relevant to your integer only, because here also 4 byte, here also 4 byte. Whenever you are planning to use 4 bytes range of data, then you can very well give a float. Okay, and for float you have to specify F. Whenever you are planning to use a large range of data like long, we have something called double for the float numbers. So for in the whole number, you will be using long, right, for 8 bytes of data. Similarly in double, that is similarly in the floating range, if you are planning to use a large range of data, that is 8 bytes of data, we can use that up to 15 decimal points. Decimal points is nothing but after this dot, how many digits you are going to use. Here for the float, you can have 7 such numbers. After dot, you can have like 7 numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. But in the case of this double, you can have 15 decimal digits. So this is the float range. Then we will be seeing something called Boolean. Boolean, it is available in all programming language, but in some programming language, there is some change in the syntax allowed. Please keep that in mind when you are doing. Don't get confused with the famous UI frameworks and all. There for Boolean, they will say just bool. But in Java, you have to declare the data type as Boolean. What is this Boolean? There are some cases you will be dealing a data which will return only true or false. Is the program completed? Then what is the answer you can expect? Yes or no. Okay. Similarly, if you are planning with some examples like uh, is it completed? True. Is it completed? False. So those when you are looking for a true or false kind of output, then instead of going for this integer float kind of thing, you can come up with the specific data type. In Java, you have a specific data type called Boolean is completed. Say this is the variable I'm giving. So is completed. I can very well give something like this. False. So it will allow only true or false. If you try to give something like this, you will get an error. It won't accept anything like this. It won't accept integer. It will accept only the Boolean. What are on the two possible inputs you can give? Either true or false. If you give any other thing apart from that, it will throw you an error. Okay. So in other things, there is no restriction. Any number within the range, any for integer or for the byte, you know, right? Any number within the range of minus 128 to 127 in byte you will be using. It won't say that you have to use 1, you have to use 2 or 3. No restriction. Anything within the range you can use. But for the Boolean, you have to use only true or false, nothing else. So this is one. Last thing in the primitive data type. Again, I'm saying I'm not covering string here because string is not a primitive data type. It is a special class. We'll be discussing it separately. So people used to confuse. String is not the primitive data type. It is a separate concept, non-primitive data type. It's a special class itself. So the last thing in this primitive data type is char. What is char? A single character, a letter, a alphabet. So if you are planning to deal with such thing, then you can go for a data type called char, alphabet. I'm giving a name as alphabet. You can give anything just for us to understand. I always say, right, try to give some relevant names. So I'm planning to store an alphabet of C. Okay, some value I want to store it in the variable alphabet. So if I want to use a character data type, then I have to use a single quote. It should be mentioned within the single quotes. Whenever you see a single quote, you can easily understand it is a character. The data type of the variable is character. If you are planning to use a string, then you have to give it in the double quotes. That is different. I'll be explaining when I explain the string topic. But for now, keep one thing in mind, that is character means only one letter you can store. If I want to use more than one letter, I cannot use because too many characters in character literal. So that is not possible. Only one character if I want to store and if I want to print, I can very well use it character data type and I can print and see also. When I print it will print the letter C. Okay, it is printing. One more thing I want to tell you, I'm saying primitive data types, right? When you go for interview, they will use a term called literals also. What is literal? It is your primitive data type only. There is no difference between these two. Two different names we are giving. Some people will say literals. Some people will say it is a primitive data type. So whenever they say literals, don't get confused. It is same only. They will say that integer literal, character literal, Boolean literal. Instead of saying Boolean primitive data type, they will say literals also. So both the names represent the same concept only. Concept wise, there is no change. Only some developer prefer to call it as literal. Some developer they prefer to call it as primitive data type. So both are same. This also you can keep it in your mind when your interviewer asks you a question. Can you please tell me the literals in Java? Then you can explain the same table what and all I've explained you. If your interview is asking you, can you please explain me the primitive data types in Java? Yes, the same thing you can explain. There is no change in the answer, only the question, the way of question will vary. So this is done. You may get a question like so far I've explained you everything related to an interview. The next concept what I'm going to tell you is these are all related to your development. When you become a developer, these are all the possible things you will get it. So I will be covering that also. Let's take an example of integer. So I'm coming down. I'm planning to remove everything. Okay. So firstly, I'm going to see what are the different things I can store it in integer. Integer means it is a number. I can store a number. That and all we know. But there are some additional things also you can do it in the integer data type. So this is related to you for your knowledge purpose. I'm telling. Very hardly they will ask in interview, but it is good to know when you become a developer. You can use it in your real-time development also. Very first thing is we all know that if I'm planning to use a number int num equal to some thousand, I can give and I can print it also. The shortcut to have your print statement in Intellij IDE is you can type S out and you can press enter button in your keyboard. Then the complete syntax will come. You don't need to type system.out.println. You can type S out and enter button. So now I'm planning to print the number. I will comment it out all this code so that you won't get any confusion. I'm commenting all the print statement so that I will get only the print statement of my new code. I don't want to see the shoe size, alphabets and all. So I have only one print statement. Good. I am declaring a variable called number. The type of the variable is integer and I'm assigning a value of 1000 to it and I'm printing it. So now let me run this program. So it is compiling. It is printing 1000. This is we all know. For example, again I'm taking you back to your school days and college days. We would have learned something called binaries, octals and hexadecimal number. Please don't get confused because this is not your interview. This is additional information I'm giving. It is good to learn apart from integer. We won't be using any of these in our future demos and examples and all. So don't think that something weird things I'm discussing. Certainly not. This is good to learn. So octal numbers means you would have known in your school days binaries also. So binaries means if I have a number like this, the decimal number like this, 10, for this there will be some equivalent of binary numbers. Binary numbers means something like this we will print 1010. How we will be getting this 1010? You will divide this 10 with 2 and you will say if there is a remainder, you will say remainder 1. If there is no remainder, you will say 0. This is again our school days programs, converting a decimal to octal, sorry, decimal to binaries. If you don't remember that also fine, I will be, there are some websites available. Let me see. And so decimal to binary. There are some sites available, readily available sites. So if you know the formula, you can add it. If you don't know the formula also, no issues. If you have a decimal number and if you want to convert it, this is how they will do. How they will do? They will divide this with 2 and they will come up with this answer 1010. Why they are coming up with this answer? Because your computer will understand something in binary codes, right? So they will use this. If you have 20, if you have 30, the computer will understand only zeros and ones. These are the binary values of the complete decimal number. So what we are going to do here is, we are going to try something different. Instead of storing a 10, I am going to try with the number which I got it for 20. Okay, I want to store a number 20, but in the binary format. Means how I can do, I can copy this and I can say that 0b. 0b means I'm giving instruction to Java program that I'm going to deal with a binary number, and I'm printing this. You see this? The prefix is 0b and I am adding some number. Let me run. So usually what you will expect, what and all I'm storing here, it will be printed here. In this line it will print. That is expectation, right? But my program will understand because I gave a clear instruction to it stating that it is a binary number. So what it will do? It will store it as 20. So in your program, in your future development, if your organization, they may test you, okay, whether you're good, like 4 years, 5 years experience profile or not, they may test you, because usually in first this trainees and all, they won't be having this information. They will know only integer. They will think that only the integer data type I can store. If you are looking for a advanced level, if they want to test whether you are really a 4 years experience or 5 years experience profile, then they will trick you with these kind of things. They will give you an integer and they will ask you to store a binary data. Then you don't get panic. Yes, you can very well store a binary data. The only thing what you have to do is you have to prefix it with 0b. It means that you are telling the Java program, hey Java, I'm planning to store a binary data, and though I give zeros and ones, you should store the equivalent of this binary data, the equivalent decimal value of binary data you can store. So it will print. So it's not only intended for binaries, it is intended for octals also. So octals, again, there I told, right, the decimal value will be divided by 2 and it will print it, right, when I want to do a octal. So let me see whether I can get you some online pictures. If you don't know this is the calculation. It is beyond our Java training, but still I'm telling you, just I want you to recollect our school days things. That's it. Same thing, nothing newly I'm teaching here. If I want to get a decimal value of, I hope my screen is visible. Oh no, it's going to YouTube. I don't want YouTube. I don't want this. Okay, I'll take this itself. Okay, so now I want to get the binary value of 27. Means what we do in our, okay, in our college days is, we will take this number. I think in school itself we have read it. 1 minute. Close. Okay. What we will do is, we will take this number and we will divide by 2. So 27, when I divide by 2, I will get 13, but there will be a remainder of 1. Then again this 13 I will divide by 2. Then I will get 6 and the remainder will be 1. Then the 6 again I will divide by 2. Here I won't be getting any remainder, because when I divide 6 by 2, I will get 3 directly. Then again this 3 I will divide by 2. Here I will get a remainder of 1 and 1. So this everything they will club together. Can you see? 11011. What and all thing it is in the pink color is the binary equivalent of the decimal value. So this is how we have done in the school days. The same thing we are doing here also. So we won't be doing this here. We are directly taking the value and we are storing. Similar thing for the octal. Octal, what we will do, instead of dividing by 2, we will be dividing by 8. For hexadecimal, we will divide this number with 16. So we are not going deep into that logic, because beyond our scope. Just I want you to brush up something. That's why I'm showing all those pictures. So coming back to our discussion, If I want to say one octal number, then I can prefix it with 0. It means it's an instruction to the computer, that is your Java, stating that I am planning to deal with a octal number. So the prefix will be 0 and I'm printing. So what it will do, instead of printing 010, it will print me the octal equivalent. Octal equivalent is 8. 010, it is 8. If I want to print a hexadecimal number, hexadecimal number means, you know, right, it will have alphabets also. If I want to print a hexadecimal number, then I can very well do. So what it will print? It will print me the equivalent value. This is the hexadecimal equivalent value of the one which I'm giving. So why I'm telling all these things is, if they want to test you whether you have a good Java knowledge, they will trick with this. So just keep it in mind. The hexadecimal, octal, binary, this is not the concept of Java. This is your mathematics concept, your school days concept. So based upon, like, if you're from different states in India, I don't know which grades they have taught you, but it is there in your school days itself. So that concept, I'm not getting into that, but binaries I've explained you. Similar thing for octal also. If you want to store an octal value, if you want to store a hexadecimal value, how you can store? If so, for binaries I told it's 0b. The prefix should be 0b. Then what are all the value you want to store, you can store. For octal, the prefix should be 0. For hexadecimal, the prefix should be 0x. Usually in an integer, if you store a value like this, it won't accept, because it's an integer, right? You can't store a, b, c and all. It will throw you an error. But if you define with 0x, it is not throwing an error. You can see it in my screen. So it is clearly understanding that the developer wants to store hexadecimal. Yes, I'm allowing this time. So it is allowing and I'm able to get this data. So these are all the possible values I can store it in this. Then not only in integer, if you want to store a phone number, okay, if I want to store a telephone number, what I can do, usually NPA, NXX and the line. So this is how it is there, right? I use long. So this is how it is there. But telephone number, but this is not human readable. This is not user friendly. So what I can do is, I can introduce an underscore for me to understand. When a developer open a file, instead of giving a 10-digit number, if I give like this npa underscore nxx underscore and line, it will accept. But when it store the data into the memory, when it store the data into the memory, it will remove all the underscores. For me to understand, for a developer readable perspective, I can introduce underscore. Can you see what is the output? It doesn't have any underscore at all. So these are all the intelligence available in int data type or the long data type, where it will help me to make it as a readable content, but it will easily handle the data. It will remove all the underscores and it will save it to the DB. So this is in long. And coming back to float, okay, in float, we would all know the value of pi. The value of pi is 3.14159, something would be there. So the pi value, again, this is all your school days formulas only, nothing new we are discussing. So I want to save the value of pi. So what I will do, 3.14159, I will specify, and I will put it, and I will print the value. This is the usual way I do, right? So I'm printing it and I'll get the data also. Fine. But I feel that I don't want to give the decimal value. I want to keep everything as a whole number, but still in memory, I want to keep the decimal. How can I do is exponential minus 0.5. If I give like this, what it will do, this 5, right, 5 is there, right? So it will keep the periods, that is the dot, for the 5 digits. Can you see? 3.1, though I specified as a whole number, it is easily understanding that because I gave an instruction to program stating that I am planning to use a decimal range. So that is for 5 digits. For the 5 digits, I have to use a decimal range. So please do it. It is not only intended for negative range, for the positive ranges also you can use. If you are planning to use a large number, like of 10 digits of number, the long data type, there also you can use this e power of, instead of giving minus, you can give the normal 5 digits, 10 digits, whatever you want, you can give. Again, I'm reiterating, please don't get confused with this topic. This is some additional add-on things to you. So if you don't think that I don't know hexadecimal, I don't know octal, no issues at all. People who know this hexadecimal and octal, I'm telling, this is the way you can do it. Now we are going to see something called escape sequence. This is really needed for you when you do a development. Interview questions, they won't be asking much on this. I will be telling the frequently asked question. In interview, they will be asking 3 escape sequence. I'll be telling that with the example itself. I'll be running a demo and I'll be showing. Real time, we will be using so many escape sequence. Let's see what are all they. What is escape sequence? Say for example, I am printing one print statement. I told you, right, whatever I give inside this double quotes, it will print as it is. So it is printing hello world to me, coming as it is to me. I feel that I want to keep hello in one line, world in another line. I don't want it in the same line itself. Then I can use one of the escape sequence. What this escape sequence will do, it will help me to break this statement into 2 different lines. Can you see? I've introduced something called /n. Then it is saying hello and world. Hello is printing in one line, world is printing in the other line. Now again, one more thing. So let's go back to our tool. This is one of the escape sequence. So now again, what I'm doing, I am having a print statement of hello world. I remove the /n because I want to try the other possible escape sequence available in Java. I feel that I want to introduce a tab before my print statement. For that, what I can do, /t. /t is intended for the tab. So you can very well see both the cases I'm printing hello world only. Here also hello world, here also hello world, but you can see a tab preceding the statement. So /t means it is a tab. So it is clear. /n means new line, /t means tab. Why I'm saying this /n, /t and all, it will be used in your real-time development. Lot of the places will be using. Plus, in interview, you will get a debugging question related to the /n. So /n, so they maybe ask you to print a pattern. Can you print a star pattern? Can you print one diamond pattern? Can you print a triangle pattern? So if they give the patterns, you will be using some loopings and all. In the looping concept, you have to move to the next lines. If you want to introduce some space and all, you can use this escape sequence. I'll be covering the patterns when I complete the loop concept. I'll be covering the patterns also, but keep it in mind that escape sequence are used to play with your content. How to print the content, you can very well play with that. There are some more things, like you are seeing hello world is there, but I want to print it within the double quotes. I want to see like double quotes, hello world, double quotes, something like that. I want to print means what I feel. Yeah, I feel that any new developer, what they will do is they will go and add the double quotes, and they will imagine that whenever I add the double quotes, it will be shown here, because our understanding that only, right? Whatever is specified in the double quotes, it will come. So I can give something like this inside the double quote and I will get it. This is the understanding of a new developer, but it won't work like that. So obviously this double quotes, it will work in a pair only. If there is a starting double quote, it will look for the ending double quote and it will close that particular logic. So here one pair is there, here one pair is there. For a Java program, this is something new, unknown, nothing is available because it is not specified within the double quotes. Double quotes is already over. So if I want to print a double quotes, I can introduce another sequence called slash. If I give a slash like this, it will understand, it will bypass, it will escape the sequence, it will cut down the sequence, and it will say that can you see? I'm able to print a double quotes for the hello world. So this is how we will use. The slash also we will use multiple places in a real-time development. Whenever you bypass a double quotes, whenever you are passing the data over one place to another place, the double quotes will be overwritten. So in that cases, you can introduce a slash and you can very well handle it. And next thing is, if I want to print a slash, then I can introduce again. I may feel that I want to use slash double quotes. Then what you can do? You can introduce double slash. So if I want to see a slash in my print statement, I can use a double slash. So these are the famous quotes. You can see now, right? The slash is coming here. I can't just put a single slash because it won't understand, so I have to use a double slash. If I want to introduce a single slash in my print statement, I have to use a double slash in my code. So these are the escape sequence. So what and all we have covered today? We have covered the different primitive data types. So it is also called literals. And for the numbers, the whole numbers, there are 4 literals. That is your byte, short, int, and long. For long alone, you have to specify L so that it will understand it's a long data type. And for the decimal related things, you can use float and double. Again, for float, you have to specify F. And you have something called Boolean. Boolean will understand only true or false. And you have a character data type that will accept only one letter. And these are all called as literals also. Then we have checked something called what are the different data. You can store it in integer. You can store a octal, you can store a binary, you can store a hexadecimal data. In float, if you want to remove the dots and keep it as a whole number, you can use e power of minus 0.5. I've shown the example of pi. Then what you have seen? You have seen something called escape sequence. Escape sequence will help you to play with the data, the output print data, and even with your strings also you will be using. String I didn't cover it, that's why I showed with the output print statement itself. So when you want to print like this, like a new line, slash n you can use. When you want to introduce a tab, then you can use slash t. When you want to use the double quotes, then you can use a slash and double quotes. When you want to introduce a slash, then you can use double slash. So, any doubt in today's session? Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you. If we don't have any doubts, thank you, Vibha. If you don't have any doubts, we can end this session. But one request from my side, from tomorrow onwards, I'll be giving small programs for you to practice. You can use an online compiler also, no problem. But if possible, if there is a chance, if you have a dedicated laptop or desktop, please install the IDE. Install JDK and install IDE. How to install, I've covered in the session 1 itself. So please see the video. It is already shared in the group. You can see the video, recorded video if you missed it, and you can install the IDE. From tomorrow onwards, I'll be giving small lab exercises.
Excuse me, man. Excuse me, man.